Hey guys, welcome back to Arry the Stag. TR Tony here, sat down on a Saturday. Hope you're all well wherever you are. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, by the way. Always good to get more on board. And as many of you know, we're not a commercial organisation, so lots of help always helps. The reason for my video today, folks, is one of quite a serious nature actually. A couple of people from Australia this week through 2 or 3 other individuals, and I think the Australian Stag Owners Club sent in some pictures which I'll show you towards the end of this film, and it relates to the bulkhead insulation pad. I'll show you that in just a second, and basically the risk of fire. If I can just grab the one to hand, it is here. This is one that we bought probably in 2018, I think it was January 2018. I've had it on the shelf in the garage for some time, pending UNY 49M getting back on the road. Very simply, it's the pad that goes between the basically the back of the engine and on the bulkhead. So I think you can see it here. There it is. That's all looking good. So when it's in position, it all looks very nice, and that's all great. But there is a serious problem with it. These are available from a number of different suppliers, so I'm not singling any one particular supplier out at all. But I do think, as a community of stag owners, and actually if you've got a classic car with one of these on, because I think there are other patterns that are also sold with this material on to other classic car owners, probably worldwide. I'd really encourage you to take a blinking good look at what you've got there, and I'll show you what we've done this afternoon in the garden with a few offcuts of this thing, which actually is very, very worrying indeed. As I say, I don't want to be a scaremonger. Nothing's officially proven. We've just done our own little amateur test in the back garden this afternoon, and I for one will not be using this in my refurbished car. I'll be looking for some kind of fire retardant replacement. So without further ado, let me just show you what's been going on. Okay, so welcome to the start of the Arry the Stag garage. Many of you have been following our progress in recent weeks on how it's going. So we had the concrete base down quite some time ago, and this week the boys and Grandad Jim have managed to, and me, have helped to get this wall all together. So we're pretty much locked in there. We've got some roof trusses underneath that tarpaulin there, so they will be going up in the next day or two. We've had quite a bit of weather coming in, so we've just sealed down for now just to keep everything weather tight until the rain's gone. Today is Saturday, so hopefully we'll be able to then put the roof on starting tomorrow and beyond. So looking good, and the plan is to insulate obviously, and put ply on the inside, and make it all a really great place to be. And obviously the garage that's actually in front of us right now is where the entrance is going to be, obviously, and we'll be knocking that down to get us a decent bit more garden back. So this is the part in question. It's the bulkhead insulation pad, sold as a bulkhead insulation pad for the inside of the engine bay at the back, obviously, which you can see resplendent on many stags that we've seen around the classic car scene. I'll come back to that in just a second. Let's just go back to the original that came out of the car when we took it apart 2-3 years ago. This is, I've held on to these simply thinking that they could be useful in some context, not really knowing whether I'll be able to use them or not. Obviously they date back to the 1970s, but I think you can see, although there's some bits of foam missing, it's pretty heavy duty, pretty thick. I don't know what the distance that is, don't know, half an inch maybe, I don't know when it was first made, but it's really spongy. It's going to work as a acoustic dampener very, very well. And this side, of course, is actually quite heavy. It's not quite bitumen. I don't suppose it's bitumen because that would be flammable, but it's certainly heavy duty rubber maybe, or some kind of stuff that isn't flammable on the facing. So that's what came out of the car. If we now come back over to the other side, I'll just show you what that looks like. And here again is the pad, and actually when I bought it in January 2018, really just to put on the shelf, trying to lay off parts to save up of the car when we get it back together, and I've been doing that all the way along. So we're teaming with parts. So this was the reason I bought it then, just to have it on the kind of bottom shelf, if you like, ready for rebuild. And I think you can see already the distinguishing differences. Yes, on the face of it looks very nice, would look good, pretty on the back of the bulkhead, back of the engine bay, but I think you can see here that yes, it might be half an inch or so wide, but it is actually foam rather than the heavy duty felt stuff which was with the OEM matting, which I know, you know, is probably difficult to remanufacture, and you're always going to be using modern materials and stuff, but for me this is probably no more of substance than a kind of exercise mat you might use to do sit-ups or whatever, but cosmetically it looks good, and you know, it was destined for the back of UNY 49M, and we can look at that in a sec. So what I'm going to do now, I might have to take one for the team actually. I'm going to use a little bit of it and just put a flame to it and see what happens, to test once and for all whether or not it is flammable or not. So I've just removed a little bit from the bottom of the overall pad. It is a bit windy today, so I had to handle it and secure it onto the tin here with a stone, but that's the bit that's just come off. So I'll try and get a flame, just see what happens. If this gas lighter would work. There you go, that's working now. There we are. Okay, so that gas lighter is now working, and that to me is now running its own fire underneath. So it looks to me like the foam there is the issue, not necessarily the backing, although it has quickly worked through it this time because the last lighter wasn't that reliable. There you go, it's a good flame, and there you go. I think you can see that is pretty much.
Yeah, there you go, look at that.
Doesn't take much imagination, does it, to work out how quickly that could go through your car. That's just literally an inch long. Okay, so we've cut off a little bit of the pad. Arry's just come in with the actual pad itself, and just to show you what happens, that is the foam backing on the back of this bulkhead that I think you can see, until it's burned out, is not going to go out, which is quite worrying to say the least. There you go. So that's burned through all the foam backing. And in the interest of balance, we're just trying what's left of the backing itself, which is the facing rather, on the front, which I think has probably got a higher temperature, but does equally at a certain temperature, Harry, that is smouldering and burning. Certainly one guy from Australia showed us this on the inside of the bulkhead of his Stag. So it does burn, it's just a higher temperature, takes a bit more to get it going, but if you've got fuel and all sorts of stuff going on in the car, I think you can see that is not a good thing to have on your Triumph Stag bulkhead at all. I'll just leave it now. We've come indoors literally because it was so windy outside, but if it's underneath your bonnet and in the engine bay, that won't be too windy in there, will it? And I think you can see here quite what actually happens. There you go. So that's it. So trying to burn myself. So in summary, the foam itself is highly flammable. The backing itself, that is nearest the driver and at the back of the engine bay, and the plastic or whatever it is covering, you can see does melt and cinders and burns, but probably at a higher temperature. But all you need, as I say, is fuel, air, a bit of wind underneath the bonnet, and you've got yourself a dead Stag, or a dead classic car, because I think these pads are used widely in other cars. Okay guys, so I think you can see it's quite a serious problem. Yes, the foam is very combustible, and I think actually the backing too, as we've said, at a certain temperature is also quite combustible. You mix that up with air, with fuel, with heat, it really doesn't take too much imagination, and I'll show you in just a moment 2 examples of the guys from Australia. Thanks guys for sending them through. Sorry I don't know your names because they came through 2 or 3 individuals on the way to us, but the result in one particular case, although maybe not totally the fault of the bulkhead pad, was a total loss, and that was obviously quite scary. So as I said earlier on in this video, I for one will not be using this pad. I don't know what we're going to do with the ones we've bought. I've still got the receipts. Whether or not we can get a refund or not, I don't know. Certainly the suppliers of these in the UK, I imagine, are now on alert. I've certainly alerted the one that we bought this from, and I know they are dealing with that at the procurement level in the company. I did let Stag Owners Club know yesterday through the chairman, and I know that has now come out as a notice to others in the UK club. But as I say again, guys, I think this could be wider than just Triumph Stags. There could well be some other classic car owners out there who have a similar manufactured, albeit in a different pattern for their particular classic, who are running around the country with these sported on the bulkhead. I'm just going to check out ours in just a second, but yeah, it's very worrying indeed. And just to flag that the only reason I've not set fire to the whole thing here is not necessarily for a refund, which I highly doubt I'll get anyway now, thus taking one for the team, but if I can get hold of some fire retardant material, it will form a bit of a pattern, so maybe it will have a use in that respect. Okay, so I've wandered out to the front of our house just to have a look at our UES 591S Stag. This, as you know, is the rather resplendent engine bay we were looking at last week, which I'm really pleased with, and the subject of today is looking at these bulkhead pads, and this is ours here. That actually, to be fair, ignore the previous colour of inky yellow by the way, that actually, to be fair, looks a lot better. That looks more in keeping with the OEM one that we've had than the one that we bought aftermarket. It certainly feels a lot thicker. I probably don't want to try and set fire to this just to see, but for me I'd have more confidence in knowing that that has been installed than the other one that I was talking about and showing you earlier on. So I'm not too alarmed. However, those of you out there who have fitted that newer version with the thin foam on, as I showed you, I don't know what we're going to do as a community, but I guess we're going to have to start to retrofit if this is all proven that actually this is a dangerous thing to have in your car. But certainly the guys from Oz were saying, for goodness sake, don't risk it, and I tend to agree with them, I have to say. Okay guys, so that's it from Arry the Stag this weekend. As I said, I didn't want to be alarmist, but I did think we should all know about this, and if it helps save the life of another classic car, or indeed the owner or the family or anybody on the road, then surely that's got to be a good thing. As I say again, we're a non-commercial operation. Everything we do is funded by me, so this isn't a pop at anybody in the industry at all. I just think as a classic car industry we need to take some responsibility. For goodness sake, this is going into a hot, fuel-laden, potentially explosive engine bay, and I would have thought common sense should prevail here, and if we could go back to something that we had originally, like I showed you earlier, the original OEM thick backed fire retardant foam, then surely that's got to be a good thing. Good stuff guys. Okay, well don't forget to like, share and subscribe. As I said earlier, please follow us on Arry the Stag on arrythestag.com. And then finally, don't forget to download the free Arry the Stag badge of honour from our website and fill in the details, and we'll send you one free of charge. And we'll see you online on Arry the Stag very soon. Cheers for now guys, all the best.